Hi, everybody. Welcome to TSP Weekly. This is your tech startup podcast for Friday, March 25th, Good Friday. My name is Stephen Campbell. I'm a local tech entrepreneur here in Kitchener-Waterloo. With me today, as always, is my co-host, Amaris Gerson.
Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Amaris, how are you?
I'm all right. It's a holiday, so it's a bit weird, but...
It's not a great Friday, it's a good Friday.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Joining us today is Alex Snyder from Site2Site.
Yep.
Alex, thanks for having us in the jungle today.
Thanks for inviting me.
So today we're recording at the Velocity Jungle. Your office is just next door at the Velocity Garage. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome.
Yeah, we moved in about maybe a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now that Velocity's really expanded, this was never here before, so it's interesting to see that progress.
It was here, you just didn't know. It
was here.
Google space.
Yeah. When they moved into the Google space, we all saw how different it was compared to like how everything's more uniform over there. So we were like, what was Google thinking when they built this? So it was interesting.
Yeah, we might shoot some baskets in the Google gym
Yeah,
afterwards.
exactly.
So, it's fun. So tell us, what is Site2Site, Alex?
So Site2Site is a mobile app. It's on iOS and Android for the construction industry. So it's meant for the field workers, so the carpenters, anyone in the field, and it reports to our website where you can log in and see all the information. So the best way to describe it is if you see a truck on the highway with a lot of receipts on the dashboard, something like that, we automate all those receipts, just one of those things. The guys, they don't have to fill in timesheets manually anymore. They just press like a clock in, clock out button.
Okay.
So we have automated real-time job costing because of this. We also track your tools. We do a lot of other things that are a bit more technical, but that's mainly what we do.
How do you track tools with an app?
So we basically, on our platform, you would create tools, and we generate a QR code for you. Mm-hmm. Then they would print out those QR codes. They either come to us and ask us to print out the labels, or somebody else does. They do it, and they label other tools, and then they scan it. So it's like a superstore scan, pretty much it.
So who's the actual customer here? Is this more like a general contractor so he can manage his fleet of carpenters, and or is it the carpenter himself who is sort of running his own business? And
So we're sort of everywhere. So my background is commercial construction.
Okay.
So we were aiming for the general contractor market, but we expanded now to all subtrades. So we have people who have their own crew. So small companies, 5 to 6 people, up to almost 70.
Oh, wow.
So our system works the same for everybody. It works very well, and
So let me run me through what I'm going to see if I pull up the app. What am I visualizing? Is it a dashboard then that I can manage my guys, or how does that work? Do I have a tools tab? Or?
Yeah, so we view the process a bit different. Mm-hmm. So when you open up the app, you see the main features that every guy will use every single day.
Okay.
So every guy's going to clock in and out to log his hours. Every guy's going to be signing out tools or vehicles. So there's a scan button for that. There's also the receipt button. So those are the main things that you use during the day. Mm-hmm. In the side menu, which is to the left, there's all the job information, news from the company, your profile information, your schedule, stuff like that.
So we just had a freezing rain here in Canada. I lost power for 12 hours last night. You would be able to the company could put out a bulletin saying the job site is closed today due to freezing rain.
Yeah.
So everybody wouldn't show up at the job site.
Yeah.
Thing, right?
And then you would get a notification.
Yeah. Really neat.
So there's no back end for the owner of the company, or is there some way to sort of manage that stuff?
So the way it works is you log into our website, and we give you that's where your dashboard is. Okay. That's what we call the platform. Mm-hmm. And they enter in the information for the jobs. They enter in their guys' information. Okay. All that kind of stuff is on the computer. A lot of construction apps, what they failed to recognize is, guys, people on the site, you don't have time to type. Yeah. You just don't. So our app is very free of inputs. So all that
just a scan and a...
Big buttons.
Right.
Big
Is there any-
buttons for big hands. Like,
It almost seems like it's such a great idea that it could have some correlation to like the medical industry for nurses to check out tools and check in and out. Have you ever thought of branching out past the construction industry? Or?
yeah, we have. That's actually interesting. You mentioned the medical industry. Actually, one of my friends, he runs. He's taking over. He's the director of hospital in Pakistan, and he actually wanted to use our inventory system, our equipment scanning system, for his for something medical.
Fair enough.
Whatever.
I don't know what it was
not your
exactly.
industry,
I
yeah.
think it was something to do with eyeglasses. I don't know, but he wanted to use it there because he didn't really want to use RFID chips.
Right.
Because the scanning equipment can be a bit cumbersome
Right.
and it's really expensive, even though the chips themselves are.
So what do you do with something like that that's thrown into your lap when you're in the startup world and you've got, like, I was just thinking casually, but you've got enough to worry about with
Yeah.
the construction industry, right? So what do you do with an opportunity like that? Do you pass it to somebody else or do you try to?
You put it in your back pocket. We've been asked a lot of times to build custom apps. Actually, the police have approached us. A lot of my former clients in the contracting sphere have asked me to modify the app for them. And before when you don't have much going on, like you're just in development mode,
Yeah.
then it's sort of like maybe we can do this, but now we just don't. We just
You've got one customer sort of not one customer, but you have a focus towards the construction industry, so you focus just towards that.
Yeah.
And do you think that that's something that as you grow, you would maybe add some more customization to your app?
Well, as you get more developers, then you can sort of do custom projects. But the problem with that is you do have to bill extremely high for that.
Yeah. Yeah, you have
It's
to have a
just-
different
It's a
scale.
different revenue model. It's not something that... The problem with going on customer projects is it takes away from your business, from your focus, and it can become a distraction.
It's fair. Yeah.
Well, let's get back to your business then. What is your monetization for Site2Site? Is it a monthly subscription base, or do I buy it once, or microtransactions, or?
So it's a typical SaaS model.
Yep.
We don't do feature-based pricing. We don't really believe that. So right now, if you went on our website, your first account is free. So you just log in, you put in your email, create a password, and you're in. You have access to everything. The apps are downloaded for free. So basically, our monetization model is when you create users in your company. So if you create 5 users, you create their user accounts, you give them to your guys. They log into the app that they downloaded from the App Store, and that's how it works.
Right. So how big is your company right now?
In terms of people,
Yeah, in terms of how many people, like, is it you and you alone that's working on this, or?
I wish it was my. I wish I could say I accomplished this all by myself. No. So this started about 2 years ago at Snyder Construction. So my parents' general contracting company. I came back from Bay Street and decided to do some stuff there.
So you came
And-
from a finance background?
Yeah, I'm an accounting finance major.
So Bay
Nice.
Street is a financial district in Toronto.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I decided I didn't like audit anymore, which probably shocks you.
No, not even a little bit.
I'm aghast.
Yeah. And so I went back to construction, which I've been doing since I was a kid. And I decided to utilize the small programming background that I had. And also, I met Ryan, my co-founder, Ryan Gossel. He is maybe a million times the programmer I will ever be. And we started building this thing for Snyder Construction. And then some of my sub-trades were like, Alex, you gotta push this. So that's where it all started.
That's great. Well, and you had great connections to help that move forward. So
Yeah.
right now it's just the two of you?
No, we have about 6 of us now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we have 2 salespeople, Ivan and Wayne. We have a couple devs, Thomas and
no.
wow, Mike. He's going to kill me for that.
Mike's getting a free beer later on this afternoon.
Yeah. And then we also, all our design, which was one of the things that we preach about to our clients is when we sell this thing is the UI. The UI is probably one of the cleanest you're going to get. Implementations usually take on average, like there was one company we brought on. I showed up on a Friday at 6:30. That was fun. And there's 40 guys surrounding me. Most of them had never downloaded an app before.
Wow.
Like never before. And by Monday morning, they were all clocked in. 30 minutes later, they had all downloaded the app.
That's great.
They all figured out where everything was. And it was good to go. The one guy I couldn't get the app on was because his kid locked him out of his phone. So I
a little beyond your scope.
I can't fix that, man. I can't. So
well, it's so awesome to have those early adopters and that early push of reinforcement that what you're doing is positive and they want it, and the support, right?
Yeah. No, it's definitely great to have that. I mean, when you start out in the industry and you know a lot of people,
Yep.
That definitely adds. And you're also solving your own problems, so you know that it works.
Right. Yeah. If you've been in the industry for sure, you would have sort of an insight that a lot of startups don't necessarily know. They're sort of developing for an industry they think they understand, but don't work in it. And you've worked in that.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest problems that you see in the startup community.
Yep.
A lot of fresh-faced kids from university are like, oh, I'm going to solve, I don't know, the medical industry. Oh, boy. Like,
yeah.
what are you going to do in first year that you've learned in medical school 101? I don't even know. But, yeah, when you have a bit of experience in the industry, it definitely helps.
So are there any fresh-faced kids out there competing with you that have seen your idea? Or is there any competition at all for you?
Yes and no. I mean, tech and construction is a very new field.
Right.
There's room really for everybody. I was in Maine last week for a conference, and I ran into one of the head salespeople from a company called PlanGrid.
Okay.
So they built an app for construction that goes on your mobile device, but it's meant for plans. We never touch plans.
Right.
So, like, it's a very friendly talk. It's nothing, like, we both want to sell, but it's a complimentary program, and then we get into talking about integration, which is always a nice talk to have. Never really happens because it's complicated, but it's right now, there's not too much competition. It's not like construction in Toronto where people are at each other's throats and the Italians and the Portuguese have a rivalry, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair.
I know the father of the father.
Yeah. That's probably an exaggeration, but not in Quebec.
Right, okay. Fair enough. Amaris, you know what we should do? We should talk about Igloo for a second.
I figured you were going to say that.
How did you know?
Because you said my name, and I figured that meant that I should talk about Igloo.
Yeah. So what about Igloo? How many donuts do you think they eat a year?
Well, they have it on their website. The Donut Eating Club eats 4,160 donuts this year. So that was probably last year.
2015.
Yeah,
No-
and they
no
have
donuts
grown.
were
They've
harmed.
doubled in size. So you got to imagine the Donut Eating Club is also doubled in size. But they also have a fitness club. Oh, sorry, workout club.
So
25
after
members.
the donut club, you go to the
I
fitness
feel like
club?
maybe
that.
it's separate people. I don't know. Maybe Donut Club happens in the morning and Workout Club happens at lunch, so balances.
I think the workout club might actually just be a Nerf gun fight.
Well, they did shoot 350 Nerf bullets in their average Nerf gun fight, and we've been there and shot Nerf guns, and it's pretty intense. It's pretty violent.
Yes, a friend of ours is a developer and has recently been hired there, and we went by his desk, and it almost cost us our lives. It really did.
Yeah, he for Christmas wanted a Nerf gun so he could play better Nerf gun fights at Igloo. So
He's
pretty cool culture.
Igloo's always looking to improve their employees.
I think they have 4 hoverboards right now. I think they
Wow.
had 2, and then I feel like I saw a tweet that said they got 2 more. So you can hoverboard around the office, and
You
they're
can have
hiring.
hoverboard battles.
They're hiring a bajillion people: public relations, strategic accounts, developer, more developers, all sorts of developers. ASP.NET, Salesforce, business development representatives. Basically, they're hiring you, anyone.
So Igloo Software, local company here. They do an intranet that you'll actually like.
They do what they
So
will.
yeah,
So does that say we talked about them? Should we say more? We good?
let's say more next week.
All right, we can do that.
Let's get back to Alex.
Okay.
So Alex,
Alex.
we understand what you're doing, but we don't know much about you. So let's talk about you a little bit. How did your journey start? Other than your parents, did you come through the University of Waterloo, or
He's got a finance background. So was that from Waterloo?
That was from Waterloo School of Accounting and Finance.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm a Waterloo grad. And years ago in school, actually, I was part of sort of the startup community. Myself and some friends who are now actually, they're scattered around. One's working at Kik, one's working in the Valley. And we started something called bookneto.com.
Okay.
So that was social education. So now you see a lot of education startups. So
Yep.
I like to say we were ahead of our time.
say it?
but we were ahead of our time.
You're probably going to
think
be
so.
challenged, but
But now everybody's moved on. It was a real good experience, and that's how I sort of knew about this place.
Yep.
Knew about Mike, the director of Velocity. Actually, originally when I worked at Deloitte, they had something called Boost, and I was part of that. That was
Okay.
something to sort of consult for startups. So that's sort of how I got mixed up in this.
So you graduated with an accounting degree or accounting and finance degree. You probably went into that because you wanted to work in accounting and finance. I'm guessing. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, I didn't want just a normal business degree or a bachelor's of commerce, one of those Queen's kids. I wanted something more specific, more technical,
Okay.
that was directly applicable to get a job.
Okay.
Because now you see that in the market. You see a lot of very general degrees, and then people are like, well, what are your specific technical skills? I knew with accounting that I could at least get a job in business.
And then as soon as you did, you realized it wasn't for you. Is that fair, or did you work in it for a while?
No, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You take this ledger.
Yeah. I mean, I do still find tax very interesting. Which
You want to do my taxes for me?
No, I don't like doing that part.
Not that interesting.
Strategy, but I do find a lot of people actually in startup communities, their accounting knowledge is very limited.
Yeah, that's true.
And they have no idea of what cash flow means. And that's a huge problem I find with a lot of startups, because you're just new to the game. You don't really know how to run a business.
Right.
So definitely have an accounting background really helps you in running a business.
So let's dive into that a little bit. You've got a team of 6. I assume they're not all working for equity. Are you guys cash positive? Do you have any sales going, or did you get any, and I'll throw one more question out there for you. Any venture capitalist, or did you get any funding? How'd you guys do that?
So we've gotten over 100,000 in grants.
Mm-hmm.
So we won the Velocity Fund Finals, which was
Okay.
$25K. And then we also got funded by OC Smart Start, which
Okay.
I think was 70. And then random grants, I don't even know where the other ones came from. I forget.
But you're thankful that you got them.
I'm thankful
Yeah,
that
so
I
money
got
just
them.
fell from the sky.
I think I had to fill out a form.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
So that really helped too. So other than that, yeah, we're almost cash flow positive.
Mm-hmm.
We have over 400 users right now.
That's
Our companies are either in the States, Canada, and now Australia.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Wow.
pretty cool.
How'd you make the Australian connection? Did they come to you?
They came to us. It was an inbound.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
So that was nice.
Did you ring the bell or hit the gong, your sales guys, when that call came in?
No, I hate that.
Make a sales lap.
They got that going in the garage, and
I bet.
I just put my hands over my ears. I just it's like,
You don't like
why?
the sound of money, eh?
No, it's not the sound of money. It's a gong going off. That's what it is. But
Think of it like in terms of that. That's your money every time you hear
yeah,
it.
I guess.
That
but
might help.
yeah, and in terms of VCs, we've had actually quite a few in the summer approach us, especially with the publicity that VFF brings you, the Velocity Fund Finals. So at this moment, we basically said maybe we'll talk later. Right now, we want to see we're growing with revenue. We're going to be cash flow positive pretty soon.
Yeah.
If the forecasted rates continue. So I'd rather continue with the organic growth.
Right.
There's a lot of startups that you see they raise Series A, Series B. I can name multiple off the top of my head, which I won't, but they get 20 mil, 25 mil. And then when you look at their cash flow statements, which I've seen, they're losing $500,000 a month. And the reason for that is when you get $20 million or $25 million, you got to hire like 50 people. And all of a sudden, you're working for your investors. So your investors expect to see something called growth.
Yep.
And usually, when you're funded, the best number that they look for is revenue. So the more revenue you get, the happier your investors are. But wait a minute, there's something under revenue called costs.
Yep.
And those tend to grow way too quickly when you're really pushing for revenue. So right now, we're trying to grow organically, trying to get the sales process down, trying to really realize the roles that we need in the company before we even think about venture capital.
That's a very smart decision.
Yep.
How long have you been in Velocity?
About a year.
Okay, so
A
you
year
have
and
a
a bit.
year left. We learned a few weeks ago that you get kicked out. I'm
Yeah.
still horrified by that.
Yeah, there's a small runway. What's the biggest problem you guys have right now? What's the biggest struggle you're having?
That's a good question. We had a few technical difficulties with our server last week. Our biggest problem probably has been the last year. I didn't want to release a product that was underdeveloped. So we actually used a lot of people I knew as clients as my QA, as my quality assurance, which worked out pretty good because I gave them a deal. So we only started doing marketing, publicity, stuff like that, maybe 2 months ago when we hired on a sales. So we're trying to get more attention, being noticed, and get our product out there.
So has that really been your biggest struggle in terms of since your start in the whole business?
Since the start, God no.
Yeah, so what's been the biggest struggle that you've gone through?
The biggest struggle probably there's so many different things you could talk about here. I mean, you could talk about like our app doesn't do one thing. You know what? Actually, I will focus on one thing that's been a huge pain. Android phones, there's so many of them.
Yes.
Yep.
There's so many different, but you have one OS. And as much as I have huge issues working with Apple, the apps run beautifully on their product because the hardware is made for the software, made for the OS.
Right.
With Android, you have all kinds of different hardware components going on one OS. So when you look at the camera, you have cameras that take beautiful pictures now, so many pixels.
Yeah.
And you have the Note, you have this one, the Samsung Edge, you have all these different ones. And uploading them is a huge pain, just unbelievably painful. So we've been, I think, 6 months trying to finalize that.
Okay. So you support iPhones and you support Android.
Yeah.
Android took you a long time to get there, but you're there.
Yeah. So it's two separate code bases.
Yeah.
We don't do cross-platform development.
Okay.
Native coding for both.
Good.
Any thought of going BlackBerry or
Because
Windows Phone?
No Windows Phone. None. I haven't seen one yet.
I haven't seen one either.
So if Windows
seen
wants
two.
to pay us to develop for them, that's fine. But we will not develop for Windows. We're
Get in line
on.
behind Australia Windows,
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Really?
No, because Australia came to you, right? So they can call you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are on BlackBerry because of BB10 supporting Android.
Okay.
So we've put it on quite a few BlackBerry devices actually.
Great. That's great. Being that I'm rocking a giant phone.
Is that the passport?
It is the passport.
How's that working for you?
It's large.
So what's the future for Site2Site, Alex? Are you guys looking for world domination? Do you have an exit plan?
Right now it's just more customers, more growth, and we'll see what happens.
Keep your head down and keep trucking.
Yeah.
So final question. Do you guys have any, say Google bought Site2Site tomorrow, you're out of a job, you've got billions of dollars. Do you have another project? Do you have a startup here locally that you would love to join? Do you have another pain point that you would have to solve? What would you do?
What would I do? I'd go on vacation for 6 months.
That's fair.
Probably first.
Go to all those family or friend weddings that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You go to Australia. You have friends there now, apparently.
Yeah, I would go to Australia probably. No, I'd probably go to New Zealand, just hide for 6 months.
Take some time off.
So are there any startups in Velocity or around that you've seen that you're sort of...
Yeah, who's
think
your
are-
hashtag startup crush?
That's an interesting hashtag. We
Thank you.
ever since we came here, actually, a good friend of mine, Omar, he runs a company called Prospect. And originally, I was giving him a constant accounting advice, tax advice, and I got sick of it. But now I'm asking him for sales advice. So he's a great friend of mine, Omar. And his company, what they do is if you go on anybody's LinkedIn profile, he's going to get their personal email address. So it's
Creepy.
great for sales. And tryprospect.com. It's a great company. They're
Great.
doing great. And almost their sales are going through the roof.
Cool.
Great. I
That's
just met
awesome.
Omar, and I
Do we
reached
have him
out
scheduled?
to him. Yeah, we're talking about having him on the podcast. So,
Sweet. All right.
looking forward to it.
We're all over this.
Yeah.
Way
Alright.
ahead of me.
Thank you, though. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks for joining us on another episode of TSP Weekly. Next week, we're talking to Kendra with TechFarm.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
That'll be extra fun.
Yeah. Alex, if we want to follow your journey, where can we follow you? Can we tweet you? Do you have a website? Give us some of your...
Yeah, I think we got a website.
Give us some of your info.
I hope you have a website.
I hope we do. I hope it's not down at the moment.
No, I was on it earlier. No,
Oh,
you're
it's
good.
not down?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Site2Site.ca, so SITE, the number 2, SITE.ca.
Great.
Twitter handles site_2_site, and we're on Facebook, I think. Someone else is doing that.
That's
I'm
great.
not a huge social media person.
Delegation is important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And especially for me, I should not be commenting on social media.
Right. Well, that's it for us for this week, folks. Again, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Tech Startup Podcast, or TSP Weekly. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.